This video is about the word camp. I did do a little bit about that on the last video. And if we look at the Hebrew definitions, there are a number of them there. And one of them is chariot, another one is cart, another one is wagon. And one of the other definitions, which is found, let me just check the Hebrew word in case you want to look it up. Let's see here, it's 4570, so 4570 in the Hebrew language. It defines the word camp as rutted, and it talks about it being a path and also a path of a cart or a wagon. And it talks about paths, path, goings, and ways. Now, what I find interesting about this is the fact that in the Bible there are so many times where it talks about how we as Christians need to know the ways of the Lord. And if we don't know the ways of the Lord, then how are we to follow him? And if we don't know the ways of Christ, how are we to follow Christ? And how are we to be Christ-like? So I found that interesting because a rutted path, and we all know around here in Nova Scotia and through the Atlantic provinces, when you're traveling even on the highways, that in the springtime and over a period of time, the pavement gets rutted from the vehicles traveling back and forth so often. And so this is what I was thinking of about the paths when it talked about rutted, that if a wagon or a chariot or a cart was to go through a certain area repeatedly, eventually it would cause ruts in the ground, and it would be well known to the people who are passing by or to the people who are on that path that it is a path that's recognized, well known, used, and even an established way to get from one place to another. So, this is where my thoughts were when I read the word rutted. And a couple of verses that we can look at in relation to the word way in the Bible would be 2 Samuel 22:31, where it talks about God's way being perfect and that the word of the Lord is proven. He is a shield to all those who trust in him. And then verse 33, when it says, God, who arms me with strength, is my strength and power, and he makes his way and my way perfect. And perfect there means complete. I'm sure there are lots of other things that we could go into with these couple of verses, but it's talking about how God's way is complete. And if we want to be Christ-like, we must consider the fact that God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, three in one, they are discussing the fact that there is no way for mankind to return to God, to return to the truth. So they come up with Jesus, which is wisdom, and they decide that Jesus is going to come to earth to make a way for us to return to God. So if Jesus made a way for us to return to God, then through Jesus, we as Christians can make a way for other people to come to God. And if you think of it, it should be a well used, well rutted way and pathway to Christ. So it shouldn't be some unknown path. It shouldn't be a path in the wilderness or, in a forest that's all full of tree trunks, etc. It should be a well-worn path. And if we look at Malachi 3:1, it just reiterates what I was saying, but in relation to John the Baptist. And it says, Behold, I send my messenger, and he will prepare the way before me. And then we see the reality and the actualness of this particular verse in Matthew 3:3, where we see John the Baptist crying out in the wilderness, saying, Prepare the way of the Lord, make his path straight. And another word for straight also is complete and even. And of course, Jesus saying in John 14, verse 6, that he is the way, the truth, and the life. So if we combine what we know about camp and chariot and those things making a path, a rutted path, and we talk about the ways of the Lord, that Jesus is the way, um, and that we are to make a way through Jesus for people to come to God, then it should be something that's well known and well understood. There shouldn't be any discrepancy how we get there. The same as when we don't feel well or there may be illness, people might have diseases, and we have to come to God in prayer. That should be a well worn path. It shouldn't be something that we just do once and that's it, and nobody even knows that that path exists. The way a path is made is through repetition, going the same way repeatedly. And it makes a way. It says that the way of the Lord is perfect, which means it's complete, which means there's a beginning and there's an ending. It's not just a path that goes to an unknown place or it forks off and branches off into another direction. It has a starting place, it has a finishing place, and it is complete. It's not like a highway under construction or a path under construction, wherein we might see that in parks across Canada, or trails where the trails are under construction, and then when they're finished, when they're completed, people can walk on them. Jesus made the way means it to us as Christians and even the unsaved that he started the path and he also finished the path. And I believe that's why he's called the Alpha and the Omega. He has started the way and he has finished the way. And we as Christians, as I said, are to walk in the ways of the Lord and in the paths of the Lord. But if there are no paths there, then it's not familiar. It's not something that people might know, or it might be something the unsaved don't know because there's not a well rutted path. And I believe that it is up to us to make the paths of the Lord straight, simply because of the words of John the Baptist saying that we need to make the way of the Lord straight. We need to make it even. There needs to be agreement. There needs to be meeting people on the same level. And that same level is where Jesus is. It's not where Christians think they should be. It's not a level of finances or a level of how big or how small a church is, or the things that humans might compare themselves between or among each other. It's comparing ourselves to Christ and being Christ-like. And so I just wanted to encourage you with that, that the paths and the ways of the Lord are established. They are well known in the kingdom of heaven. They are well known by Christians, or at least they should be well known. Like the way to worship should be well known and well trodden down. The way to healing should be well trodden and that path well rutted, so that you can bring other people along and bring them to the place of healing, which really is in the presence of God. And just on top of that, I want to remind everybody that when God says He is the I am, that means He is continuously working and He is a being that is always present. And yes, He is the God of yesterday and tomorrow. But I believe because we are humans and we are now living, that we have to understand that the ways of the Lord are always being. So when we're in the presence of the Lord, He's healing. When we're in the presence of the Lord, He's saving. When we're in the presence of the Lord, He is loving. And that means He is doing those things. Those actions are taking place all the time because He is always present. Therefore, the ways of the Lord and the paths of the Lord are always present, and they will always lead to the place where He is. And we as Christians should always be leading to Christ, not to acts of righteousness, not to giving tithes and offerings, although those things are good, we should always be leading people to Christ and to the presence of the Lord. And it is in the presence of the Lord that God can speak to them, or the Holy Spirit can lead them where He wants them to be led. And yeah, I just leave you with that.